And black bear, they're really strong climbers. Not just the cubs. It's not just the cubs, the black bear cubs that will startle, spook, and climb up a tree, but all the way into adulthood, adult male and adult female, adult boars, adult sows, can climb trees. They're very adept, strong, agile climbers. The black bear love to climb your beech trees and your oak trees to get to acorns and beech nuts right before they fall. Your black bears have the advantage over your deer and blue jays and turkey and all your other critters, all your other animals that love acorns and beech nuts, because the black bear can climb the trees before the nuts start falling and binge eat and break off branches and shake branches for the nuts to fall to the ground, to eat the nuts before all the other animals do. And so that's a huge plus for black bear. That helps the black bear and aid in their survival. And black bear are an extremely elusive, secretive animal by nature. I mean, how many people can say they've just walked out in the backyard or walked in the woods, stumbled upon a black bear and been able to watch and observe black bear, been able to just walk up on a feeding black bear? Very, very small percentage can actually say that. It's extremely hard to get a black bear in front of you when using conventional hunting methods. So this is where baiting comes into play. Baiting is a great way to get black bear to come to your stand set, to be able to watch and observe them. And this allows the hunter to be choosy and be very selective as to what bear they shoot. Welcome back to Spikes and Gills. I hope you enjoyed the fishing series on the channel, given the time of year that it is, and how the black bear hunting season here remains fast approaching, everybody. I'd like to transition from the fishing content into the black bear hunting content. And this is going to be a multi-part series about black bears and black bear hunting. And if you could leave comments, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to answer your questions. I'd like you to ask questions to me. I'll ask questions back. We can start kind of conversing with one another through the comments. And so, like I just mentioned, it's going to be a multi-part series about black bears, everybody. But I'd like this episode to be like a stepping stone foundation, if you will, for all to better understand the black bear. Oh. The North American black bear, the iconic big game hunting species, the black bear. Ursus americanus is the scientific name. It has America in the scientific name of the black bear. Hence the super iconic North American big game hunting animal, the black bear. The black bear can be found in many parts of the United States, many parts of Canada, and some parts of Mexico. And obviously you're not going to find black bears living in every nook and cranny of the United States. The black bear is the most widespread large game predator, land predator in the United States. A big, huge misconception about black bears. A lot of people don't realize just how intelligent a black bear is. They're so highly intelligent. They're such a smart animal. The black bear has the ability to rationalize. And they have an incredible memory. They can memorize all the locations in their huge, large, vast home range of where those hot food sources are, where they've found food in the past. So each and every year, the black bear can find their way back to locations where they mowed down the apples or the acorns or beech nuts, or the black cherries, or the ants, or the yellow jacket nests, or the skunk cabbage and the clovers and sedges and grasses, things like that. The black bear have that ability to remember very well. They have the ability to rationalize. They're a highly, highly intelligent big game animal. And also, the black bear, man, they can adapt. The black bear can adapt extremely well to their environments, to the different changes and environmental changes happening around them where they live. They can adapt very readily. And that's why black bears are thriving in many parts of the United States, because of their intelligence and their ability to adapt. The driving factor that moves black bear, the one driving factor that gets black bear moving, that dictates their travels and travel patterns, and the one factor that determines where you're going to find black bear hanging out is food, the things they like to eat. That's what's driving them. An adult male black bear's home range can be like 30 plus square miles, if not larger, anywhere from like 20 to 70 plus square miles. That's because they do all the majority of the traveling during the mating season, the black bear mating season. So that's partly why their home ranges are so large. Versus your female black bear's home range might not exceed more than like 15 to 20 square miles. And in some cases smaller, a lot smaller for a female. But your male black bears travel extensively, far and wide, and not only in search of food and favorable feeding grounds, feeding areas, but also in search of a mate, in search of a female black bear to procreate with. So really, no one's half the battle. The fact that black bears need so much room to roam, and the fact that they need so much food, that's why you're not going to find black bear living in all parts of the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And that's why there's only 900 plus thousand or more black bear living in the United States. But in those areas that black bear frequent, in those areas that black bear live in, they're thriving very well. They're doing extremely well, and their population's growing in those areas. And that's why hunting is such a powerful tool, a great wildlife conservation tool to help manage the populations like the black bear population. Black bear biology. Yeah, cool, interesting facts about the black bear. How long does a black bear live? Oh my word! When I was on my New Brunswick, Canada spring black bear hunt, meeting the Millers, Gerald and Angela Miller, with Miller's Prime Baits in New Brunswick, Canada, on my spring black bear hunt. I learned from them, talking with Gerald Miller, and I learned from him that he has had clients shoot some really old black bear over there in Canada. I mean, like upwards of 30 plus years old. Oh yeah, he was telling me stories of black bear they shot that had hardly any teeth left. They got the saggy back, the big, huge dragon bellies, really massive, broad shoulders, and saggy, wrinkly skin. I mean, these black bear were extremely old. Clients coming to hunt black bear over there in New Brunswick, Canada, to shoot bear upwards of 20 years old, and as old as even 30, 35 plus years old. So the black bear can live anywhere from like 1 year old, all the way up to 30 plus years old in the wild, mind you. They are the widely distributed land predator, big game predator in the United States and Canada. And they can live to be very old, like upwards of 30 to 40 plus years old. Easy peasy in the wild. That's incredible. And how big are black bear? How large is an adult male black bear, and how large is an adult female black bear? Your adult male black bears, they can weigh anywhere from 100. Yes, and this isn't an adult. This is a full-grown, older adult male black bear, 5 years old or older. And a male adult black bear can be anywhere from 100 pounds live weight all the way up to 600 to 700 pounds or more. That is huge. An adult female black bear from like 5 years old or older up to 30 plus years old can be live weight anywhere from like 90 pounds to maybe 200 to 300 pounds live weight. That's a adult female black bear. But there's exceptions to that. You can have, it's not uncommon, especially in Maine and Canada, during the hunting season, for hunters to shoot female black bear that exceed 300 pounds, that weigh anywhere from 400 to 500 pounds live weight. That's a female black bear. And it's not uncommon for bear hunters to shoot adult male black bear weighing over 600 pounds live weight. But just like humans, you can have an adult 80-year-old male human weighing 150 to 200 pounds. And on the flip side of that, you could have an 80-year-old male human weighing 300 pounds, right? So that just like our weights fluctuate with age and so forth, or with height and age, so does a black bear's weight and size fluctuate with age and so forth. So on. And how high are black bear? A male black bear can stand anywhere from like 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall, about to the top of your hip bone would be probably your largest male black bear roaming around in the woods out there. Might stand to about the top of your hip bone at about 4 to 4.5 feet tall. And an adult, older female black bear, a sow might stand about right below your hip bone at about 3.5 to 4 feet tall. So a sow, a female black bear, an adult female black bear, might be about to there at about 3.5, 4 feet tall at its tallest point. And a boar, an adult male black bear, weighing over 200 pounds, might stand at about the top of your hip bone at about a good 4.5 plus feet tall. Other really cool facts about black bear is like how fast they can run. A black bear can run upwards of 35 miles per hour. If you startle a black bear and out of a raspberry patch, if you're trudging along, hiking along, up a mountain, the side of a mountain, and there's blackberries and raspberries around you, and you enter in a big, thick raspberry patch, and all of a sudden you jump scare a black bear. That black bear can jump up and sprint and reach speed sprinting at 35 miles per hour. They can outrun a human any day. But they don't have long endurance. They're not going to run 35 miles per hour long distance. They'll reach that speed and maybe stay that speed at about 100 plus yards and then start petering out, and they might start slowing down. So their endurance isn't there. They don't have long-winded endurance. But they can exceed speeds of like 30 miles per hour, 30 to 35 miles per hour in a dead sprint. And that's male and female. Both your adult boar and adult sow can exceed speeds of 30 plus miles per hour. They can reach on a dead sprint, dead run, 35 miles per hour. That's incredible. And how many of you love to swim in the heat of the summer, those 90-degree days? How many of you like to swim? Well, the black bear aren't any different. The black bear, they run hot. They're a hot animal. You gotta figure they're long-haired. They're a very fat animal. The black bear have a lot of fat, a lot of insulation on them. The black bear don't like the heat, hence why they favor your swamp areas like this. The black bear seek out areas like you see behind me, really wet, swampy type areas. Real wet, damp, mossy, covered forest floor. Lots of shade. Lots of water, standing water nearby where they can wallow in. The black bear love to wallow in the water. Find a deep hole in a stream or brook or in a secluded pond and wallow in it and get in it and swim around and float and cool off, right? And stay cool. In the summer, in the heat of the spring and summer and late summer and early fall, when it's still really hot, the black bear need to stay cool, so you're going to find them in your deep, dark, damp, mossy covered forests and near your brooks and streams and your mountain brooks and streams and so forth, so on, in your secluded ponds. That's because the black bear have long hair, lots of fat. It's like they're wearing a sweater all the time. And it's no different than you going out in your yard on an 80, 90 degree day and putting on a sweater and walking around doing yard work. that's how a black bear's feeling in the summertime. So that's why hunters do well in establishing bait sites in September near water, near areas like you see behind me, close by places where black bear are going to hold up and hang in the heat of the day in those hot early fall, late summer days. And the black bear, they're extremely strong swimmers. They have the ability to swim long distance. It's not uncommon to find black bears swimming across lakes and ponds and across rivers to get to islands or to get to the other side. They're extremely adept and strong swimmers. And black bear, they're really strong climbers. Not just cubs. It's not just the cubs, the black bear cubs, that will startle, spook, and climb up a tree, but all the way into adulthood, adult male and adult female, adult boars, adult sows, can climb trees. They're very adept, strong, agile climbers. The black bear love to climb your beech trees and your oak trees to get to acorns and beech nuts right before they fall. Your black bears have the advantage over your deer and blue jays and turkey and all your other critters, all your other animals that love acorns and beech nuts, because the black bear can climb the trees before the nuts start falling and binge eat and break off branches and shake branches for the nuts to fall to the ground, to eat the nuts before all the other animals do. And so that's a huge plus for black bear. That helps the black bear and aid in their survival, their future survival, because they can climb those oak trees and beechnut trees and hazelnut trees and those black cherry trees to get to the black cherries and the acorns, and climb the beech trees to get to the beech nuts and hazelnut trees, so forth. So the black bear's sense of smell. Now that's the number one thing that really aids in their survival and their ability to pick up on food and find available food nearby. And black bear have such strong, powerful sense of smell that they can smell like 20 times better than a human or a dog. A black bear's sense of smell is better than a dog's sense of smell, better than a white-tailed deer's sense of smell. A black bear's sense of smell is their number one survival tactic, and their number one ability to roam their large, extensive home ranges to find food for survival. But don't underestimate a black bear's hearing and eyesight. A black bear, for eons, for the longest time, humans thought that black bears have very poor eyesight. But newer, updated scientific research has found that that's not the case. Black bears' eyesight, and their incredible eyesight, a black bear has such strong eyesight, they can pick up, a black bear has such strong eyesight that they can pick up on the subtlest of movement. Like you flinching in that tree stand, you turning your head, moving your arm in a stand. A black bear can pick up on that instantly. And especially in clearings and openings, if the forest is real thick and dense like this, the black bear might not pick you up very well 50 yards away in this thick stuff behind me. But don't underestimate their eyesight. They could still pick you out in this thick stuff moving. If you're moving along pretty quickly, if you're moving your arms and head constantly, they're going to pick up on that right away. Their eyesight is that keen. They can still pick up on the subtlest of movements. In newer scientific studies and stuff, researchers found that the black bear can see color too. They can see greens and blues and reds. They're not colorblind like some other animals out there. The black bear can pick up on many various shades of colors. Don't underestimate a black bear's eyesight. But their number one sense is their sense of smell. And a black bear's sense of hearing is so keen, so cute. You've got to picture a black bear with their cupped ears. They can move each ear independently, and their ears are cupped like little radars, picking up on the subtlest sound and noise, and they can pinpoint, hone in on the direction of where that noise came from because of their cupped ears and the ability to turn and rotate their ears independently. So if you're up there in your stand, so a black bear can hear the clanging and creaking of a stand and hear you fumbling in your backpack and hear you walking through the forest. They can hone in on, pick up on that very readily because of their ability to cup, because of their ears are cupped and they can turn each ear individually, independently, to hone in on the direction where that sound's coming from. But a black bear is so intelligent, so smart, that they might stand up on their hind legs, stand there and listen and look to determine whether or not the sound they're hearing is of any threat. They're highly intelligent, and so never underestimate the black bear. This X60 Pro Max Guard Pro cellular trail camera is also a live viewing camera. You can watch turkey live, the coyote live, you can watch deer live, you can record clips from your live viewing. Use my exclusive 15% off code Justin15 1084 5252. Everything you need to know for ordering any Guard Pro cameras will be in the description below this video and in the description below any of my YouTube videos. All right, now for the fun stuff to talk about. Winter has ended. The bears come out of winter pretty hungry. Their metabolism starts ramping up. Their digestive system starts changing, and they start requiring much more food, more calorie intake. And obviously as spring progresses into summer, there's more available food for the black bear. So there's much more for them to eat. Their home ranges expand too. And then obviously the breeding season comes. And not all people, not everyone understands that the black bear mating season actually is like early summer. It's May, June, July. The months that the black bears, that the boars travel widely, extensively, over 20, 30 plus square miles, in some cases 40 or more square miles, in search of available mate, in search of sows to mate with. The time of year that takes place are the months of May, June, and July. Like late spring and early summer, the black bear mating season begins. And the home range of the boars is extensive, man. They're traveling far and wide, not only just for food purposes, for looking for really concentrated, favorable food sources, but for an available mate, for a sow to mate with. And the sow's home ranges expand too, coming out of the winter, out of the denning season. Your sows will travel a little bit more far and wide. Obviously, for food, what drives their movement is food. And so the mating, May, June, July. And how many of you heard of delayed implantation? If you want a great conversational piece, ask them about delayed implantation. Delayed implantation is this. So a boar found a sow to mate with sometime in May, June, or July. They procreate. And the egg in that sow, the egg doesn't drop from the uterine wall to begin implantation, to begin fertilization. The embryo in that sow stays dormant for many months. The whole fertilization process with the egg in the uterus of that sow doesn't begin until fall, sometime in the fall. And the cubs, sometimes one or as many as three, and in some cases even four, anywhere from 1 to 4 cubs will be born in the dead of winter, pretty much January, around January time in the winter. Those cubs are born. And these cubs, they're born between 8 and 16 ounces. They're born blind and virtually hairless, unlike me. So these little 8 to 16 ounce hairless, blind cubs are born in the den, anywhere from 1 to 4 of them. and they'll crawl their way up the mother's belly towards her teats to nurse all winter long. So, and picture these little, tiny little 8 to 16 ounce hairless blind cubs fitting in the palm of your hand. They can virtually fit in the palm of your hands. And what's really unique about cubs, about black bear cubs, what's awesome is after the winter nursing phase, after they nursed all winter long on mama's teats, come spring, when the snows melt, the ice thaws, the days get longer and warmer, those cubs come out of the denning season with mama sow already able to climb trees. The cubs are entering spring strong, healthy, agile, and able to run fast, able to climb, and they're able to walk around with the mama sow and learning everything they possibly can from the sow. And they're able to climb trees come springtime. How cool is that? Yeah. Now this is a great segue into this really cool point I want to make here about black bear populations as a whole. I mean, how many of you actually realize that what determines the health and longevity of a black bear population, like the ability for black bears to increase their population, what really dictates that is the sows. The amount of sows that there are, the amount of female black bears that there are in any given black bear population is very, very important. A black bear population is dependent upon the sow's survival and the sow's ability to give birth to cubs and rear cubs and to go on to teach cubs to do bear things. Black bears don't become black bears and do what black bears do in the wild without learning everything they possibly need to from their mother, from mama sow. The sows teach the cubs of their home range, teach the cubs where to travel and where not to travel. The sows teach the cubs of what's dangerous, what's not dangerous. The cubs learn from the sow what to eat every spring and summer and fall. And the sow teaches the cubs of what time of year it's important to, and this is another segue, this leads me into another important fact about black bears, is the sows, excuse me, I cracked my voice, and the sows teach the cubs of what time of year they need to pack on much, much more calories and more fat and store more fat. Come late summer and all through the fall, black bears must consume 15 to 20,000 calories per day, and it's called this leads me to a really cool scientific term that has to do with black bear biology. How many of you ever heard of hyperphagia? The term actually means excessive eating. It means excessive eating. What's happening is sometime in the summer, they undergo caloric and hormonal changes. These hormonal and caloric changes happen sometime midsummer, late summer, on through the fall, that just signals to the bear, biologically, they are forced to eat excessively. They just want to eat constantly. 15 to 20 plus upwards of 25,000 calories a day. That's gaining 1 to 2 pounds per day. So they're gaining like a couple pounds a day, eating over 20,000 calories a day. They just need an excessive amount of food in the late summer, early fall. And this leads me to a very important point. And obviously, I'm sure you can already guess where I'm leading with this. If you're someone that's interested in pursuing the black bear in the way of hunting them, wanting to harvest a black bear, and all of you probably know that there's spring bear hunts and fall bear hunts. So if it's a fall bear hunt that you're interested in, and obviously an important point here is that hyperphagia is happening in the bears. They're already pre-programmed biologically to just eat excessively, to eat a lot of food. So baiting is a very, very important hunting tactic for harvesting black bear, especially in Maine, in the state of Maine and many states. Baiting is allowed, and baiting is a very, very, very important tool for wildlife conservation, for controlling the populations of black bear. And black bear are an extremely elusive, secretive animal by nature. I mean, how many people can say they've just walked out in their backyard or walked in the woods, stumbled upon a black bear and been able to watch and observe black bear, been able to just walk up on a feeding black bear? Very, very small percentage can actually say that. It's extremely hard to get a black bear in front of you when using conventional hunting methods. So this is where baiting comes into play. Baiting is a great, great way to get black bear to come to your stand set, to be able to watch and observe them. And this allows the hunter to be choosy and be very selective as to what bear they shoot. And remember, I just said moments earlier that the one factor that really controls the health and outcome of a black bear population is the sows. Black bear populations need a surplus of sows, many of them, to continue to give birth and rear cubs. The sows teach the cubs to be bear. And so we wouldn't have a healthy, thriving black bear population without those sows. Those sows determine the health of a black bear population. So a hunter on a bait site can sex the animal. They can watch with the trail camera and watch while they're actually there in the stand, watch and sex the bear and determine if it's a sow or a boar. They can wait for that big, huge, blocky head, small-eared, big, broad-shouldered, very streamlined snout bear, which is indicative of a boar. A hunter can watch the bear and determine, okay, it's a boar. It's a big boar, a trophy boar. It's a shooter. I'm going to take that bear. And then this way, this ensures that the hunters don't shoot the sows or shoot sows with cubs or shoot a cub. So baiting black bears are very necessary. So the hunter can make darn sure they didn't shoot a young bear, shoot a cub, or a sow with cubs or a sow, and they can wait for those boars, those male bear, to come in and shoot that bear. Those are the bear that hunters ultimately want to shoot. Those that are interested in hunting black bear, they really want the boars, want the big, huge 300 plus pound mature boars. That's what hunters are going for ultimately when after the black bear. And not everybody in the world knows that. This is where the lack of education comes in play here. A lot of folk think that if you're a bear hunter and you're out there shooting those lovable, cuddly bears, that you're a horrible person. A lot of people think that. And how many of you know this? How many of you watching this think that yourself? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on black bear hunting and on baiting black bear. What are your thoughts and your opinions and feelings about baiting black bear and hunting black bear as a whole? Let me know in the comments below, please. I'd love to hear from all of you. And if you could, too, click that like button. So, carrying on. So the bear went through their mating season, May, June, July. I talked about delayed implantation, and that led to hyperphagia. Obviously the black bear, entering fall, leading up to winter, hyperphagia sets in. And this leads to the denning season and the type of, and this is a great segue, a great transition into the denning season, into the winter. What do black bear do in the winter, everybody? How many of you watching this have actually believed your whole life that black bear only den in caves? A lot of folk that don't really know a lot about black bears just assume that black bears enter caves to wait out the winter, to den and hibernate. And how many of you actually know this? That black bears aren't real hibernators. Now, I want to back up here a little bit. I listened to a podcast not that long ago, and and it was a Nerd Out with biologist Myron Means, the biologist, with it was Clay Newcomb, Myron Means, the biologist. They were talking about black bears, black bear hibernation, and how hibernation isn't really and they were talking about how black bears don't really truly hibernate, but in that they're the most efficient. Black bears are the most efficient hibernators, the most successful, most brilliant hibernators, in that they can turn off hibernation and turn on hibernation with a flip of a light switch. The black bears don't necessarily need to hibernate. They don't need to go into the winter and slow their heart rate and their metabolic and their needs, and their hormones don't need to change. Their metabolic needs don't have to change. Their heart rate don't have to slow. They don't need to pack on a lot of woody content to plug up their digestive tract to help them sleep for months on end, and so forth, so on. Black bear, if they're living in an area, in a climate that stays fairly warm all winter long, as long as the black bears have plenty of food, as long as they're not undergoing a calorie deficiency. What determines whether or not a black bear has to enter hibernation is whether or not their daily caloric intake isn't expenditure in too much energy and effort to gain those calories. So if there's always acorns and always beech nuts, and there's always black cherries, and there's always other berries, and there's always clovers and sedges and grasses and skunk cabbage and so forth, so on. There's always ant larvae and yellow jacket larvae, so forth, so on, for them to eat all through the fall, all through the winter, to get all the calories they need per day. Then they don't have to hibernate at all. What really triggers the response in them to want to hibernate, to want to go into a deep it's called just a torpor, just a deep sleep, is this: if they don't have the available food. That's what triggers them to go into that kind of den-in hibernation type state. But black bear can periodically, and they do, awaken throughout the winter on a warm, sunny winter day. Often black bear wake up and actually will get up and stretch their legs and look around and smell and listen and wander around the area where they're denning. That happens a lot in the wintertime with black bear. Black bear don't have to hibernate. And another thing too, on an important note here to make, boars versus sows denning. The sows with cubs, if a sow has cubs, she must hibernate. She would definitely have to. Clearly you can imagine these cubs and sows, that a whole group of bear, mama needing to produce enough milk. The sows will always enter dens the earliest. If sows have cubs, they'll be the first to go find a suitable area to den. And I'm going to touch on all the different types of den sites that black bears utilize and how they make dens here in just a moment. But so sows with cubs will enter hibernation sooner than boars. And another really cool fact here is the cold does not affect black bears. Black bear don't really get affected in any way by the cold, extreme cold temperatures. A bear can virtually just sleep on the ground, lay on the ground in the dead of winter with snow and all, freezing ice. They can just lay on the ground and rest, sleep and rest. They don't really feel the effects of the cold. It doesn't bother them really all that much. So a bear does not have to hibernate. They really don't. And boars, if they're not getting all the calories they need, that calorie intake per day, that daily calorie intake, if they're undergoing a calorie deficiency, it will force them into hibernation, to go into a deep torpor and into a long sleep for 2 or 3 months, or so forth, so on, or maybe even a month. It really depends on the region and area that the black bears live and the climate where they live. If the black bears have ample food available for them in like February or March, let's say black bears might only have to enter deep torpor, deep sleep, or so-called hibernation for like the month of January, say, maybe only a month's worth of hibernation before they awaken and and they're able to wander around their home range and find enough food to regain their strength and to get that daily calorie requirement to survive. Black bears don't have to hibernate at all if they so choose. It just, the ability for a black bear to hibernate is just another way that they come out survivors, and it's just another way that the black bear populations are able to thrive and grow. And the black bear are just so amazing. They're amazing critters. All right, so I'm sure you're wondering, what are all the type of den sites that black bear utilize? Black bear don't need a cave. Contrary to what many folks believe, black bears don't enter caves for hibernation. They'll simply just make ground nests up underneath blowdowns, leaning trees, blowdowns, a tangled mess. Black bear will line the ground with soft ferns and vegetation and grasses and sedges and stuff, and line the ground with leaves and moss to make the ground soft and comfortable, and they'll just lay there in a ground nest, similar to a bird nest, up underneath a blowdown or uprooted tree. And that leads to another denning type, another style of den. Uprooted trees that have fallen over and uprooted the roots, and you have a big, huge root system. A lot of times, I'm sure many of you have been in the forest, walked through the woods along trails and seen trees that fell over, and you've seen the root systems. A lot of times there's little openings or crevices up underneath the roots of them toppled over trees. If it's a dry, high, hummock-like spot, it's dry, that's not flooding and getting a lot of snow and rain, the black bear will crawl up underneath uprooted trees and den there and hibernate places like that. And another type of den would be just hollowed out trees. Remember, I mentioned black bears of all ages, cubs and adults. They can climb trees for food or just to get away from danger. Black bears, sows, and boars, they'll climb huge trees that are hollowed out and rotten and climb down into the trunk of a tree to sleep, to go into a torpor or a big dormancy, to go into hibernation. They'll crawl right into hollowed out, rotten trees to sleep for months. How awesome is that? And just outcroppings, rock outcroppings in a hilly mountainous terrain where there are rock outcroppings and ledges and so forth, so on. Black bear will crawl into hollowed out rocks, ledges. They'll crawl up underneath rock piles to sleep, to go into their deep torpor or hibernation. And also really thick cedar type areas. Just anywhere where there's just a big, huge brush pile. Really, black bear just den in the simplest of locations. 99% of the people out there have walked by sleeping black bear. Most people, when they're on mountain hikes or on wooded trails or walking in their backyard even, a lot of black bear will sleep or go in their deep winter torpor or hibernation, if you will, however you want to phrase it, right near highways, roads, right by houses and people's backyards. Black bears will den. Most people have, in their lifetime, have walked by a sleeping black bear in the dead of winter. So, just pretty much you got to think outside the box. The black bears, they're not all that picky, and black bears will excavate, will dig out a hollowed bank, an embankment or ridge that maybe say an abandoned woodchuck gopher hole. A black bear could dig out further, make wide enough for them to crawl into to sleep, to go into their hibernation. So black bears will excavate areas. They'll dig out underneath rotten trees, root systems. Anywhere where there's a rock pile or rock outcropping or ledge, they might excavate up underneath there to crawl into to hibernate. Many sows with cubs will den on a ground nest. A perfect example of this is back in college when I graduated from Unity College in Maine, I graduated from Unity College in Unity, Maine with my BS, I'm Bachelor of Science in Wildlife Biology. And while I was in college, I got to go on a field trip with my class to a bear den. We met up with Randy Cross, the state of Maine black bear biologist, who was the bear biologist for 30, 40 plus years, and his colleagues. We met up with them, and they took us out to a bear den. Biologists went in first to the den. They used their radio telemetry gear. The sow had a radio collar, and they used their radio telemetry gear to hone in on her whereabouts. They had to dart her, to sedate her with a dart, and they captured all the cubs. And she had 4 cubs. The sow, live weight, was only 100 pounds, live weight, and she had 4 cubs. And they were impressed to find that all cubs were still alive in the middle of winter, in the dead of winter. This 100-pound sow with her 4 cubs, they were all still alive. And their den site was just a ground nest, was just the ground lined with ferns and moss and leaves and grass up underneath a blowdown, a tangled mess of trees and stuff. That sow was hibernating with her cubs in a bird's nest, pretty much, on a ground nest up underneath the blowdown. How cool is that? And I got to see exactly what the den site looked like. And I got to hold one of the cubs. All the cubs were weighed. They were tattooed on their inner lip, and they were given ear tags, the cubs. The sow had her radio collar replaced. She was tattooed, and she was weighed, and she had a bone marrow sample and a blood sample taken from her for future biology research and stuff. And that was just, all of that was just a cool experience. It was awesome to be there to see all this and to learn all these cool things and learn all these cool facts about black bears. And so, yes, really, you just got to always remember, black bears den in the most simplest of locations. So the next time you're out on that nature hike with your family or on that mountain hike, just be looking around, look for those big, huge, rotting, hollowed out trees. And you can tell your family, oh yeah, did you know black bear will hibernate in that tree? They'll climb up that tree and down into that hollowed out, rotten tree trunk and sleep there, go into their deep sleep, torpor, or hibernation, if you will, in the dead of winter. Or you might walk by a stump, a rotten stump that's uprooted, slightly uprooted with a hollowed out hole. Black bear will excavate, dig out holes underneath rotten stumps to crawl into to sleep, to hibernate. Or a blowdown entanglement like this, a big blowdown, leaning over a tree. They'll make a little bird's nest, little ground nest underneath there to hibernate. How cool is that? Bear, deer, moose, turkey, all birds. This is food for all them critters. This is the black cherry tree. There's black cherry trees all through here, tons of them. And this is a midsummer, late summer, early fall food source for bear and deer and moose, and turkey, and all birds and other critters. The black cherries, black cherry trees. Black cherry tree right there. So what do black bear eat? So in the spring, when the bear come out of their denning season, out of the winter in the spring, they'll go for the first green up. A lot of things that green up first are grasses, sedges, skunk cabbage, and they'll also look for dead animals, carrion, dead deer, dead elk, dead moose, carcasses, any dead thing, any dead animal they'll feed on in the spring. And a lot of people don't realize this, but black bear love that skunk cabbage. They absolutely love skunk cabbage, dandelions, clovers, grasses, sedges, all your different types of grasses. Anything green in the spring they gravitate to, like a south-facing slope, or a side of a hill or ridge or side of a mountain that thawed, that all the ice and snow thawed on first, and that's getting the first rays of the spring sun. That side of the hill might green up first, and you can bet all your money that the black bear are going to gravitate to a spot like that in the mountains and the hills. They're going for anything green immediately in the spring. Skunk cabbage, grasses, sedges, dead animals, carrion, clovers, anything green, dandelions, anything green. And then comes summer. Spring transitions into summer. What do black bear like to eat in the summer? So in the summertime, black bear, here we got a black cherry tree. So in midsummer, late summer, early fall, black bears will seek out the black cherry tree. This is a black cherry tree here. There's fruit on it. So black bears and deer and moose, a lot of other animals and birds, they'll eat these black cherries, these cherries off the black cherry trees. And also in the summer, like midsummer, late summer, early fall, the black bears, they will seek out raspberries, blackberries, blueberries. In Maine, in the state of Maine, their staples are blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, black cherries, and if available, acorns. Come late August and leading into September, all September through October, black bears will gorge themselves on acorns, beech nuts, and hickory nuts, or any nutting tree, any fruiting nutting tree, the black bears will hone in on in late summer, early fall. And they'll still eat the grasses, sedges, clovers in the summer and fall if available. They'll eat anything green pretty much, and any nut and any fruit that they can find in summer and fall. And so this talk about what black bears love to eat, their favorite food sources, leads me into a couple really cool facts about black bear, about what black bears like to eat. Did you know that black bears love to eat ant larvae, and yellow jacket nests, yellow jacket larvae, bee larvae, ants. Yeah, obviously, everyone knows they love honey. Any honeybees, any bees with honeycombs are making honey, the bears seek out that, go for that. But a lot of people didn't realize that black bears will seek out yellow jacket nests and eat yellow jackets and their larvae and ants and ant larvae. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize, and I learned this through the years by listening to a lot of podcasts and reading a lot about black bears and having gone to college, so forth, so on, learning about all the different species of animals in Maine and stuff. Black bears, they love that sweet, sugary cambium layer behind the bark of trees. So if you take your two hands, cup your hands like this, and you put them together, if you cup your two hands together and then pull them apart about an inch, trees that are about that width and diameter, so take your two hands, cup them, put them together, cup them like this, put them together, and then pull them apart an inch or two. Trees of that diameter, black bears seek out for stripping the bark off them to get to that sweet, sugary cambium layer behind the bark on these trees. A lot of people that hunt black bears, not over bait, but they just hunt black bears using conventional hunting tactics. They'll look at aerial photos of the mountains and forests that black bears live in, and they'll look for those bare spots, those openings in the forest and in the mountains on those aerial photos. And they'll go to those clearings that they're seeing on the aerial photos and scout them and see if those openings and clearings in the aerial photo, it was produced by feeding black bears. And those clearings are produced by black bears stripping the bark on the trees to get to the sweet, sugary cambium layer to eat. And ultimately that's killing these young trees, and they're toppling over and falling, and it's producing these clearings and openings in the forests and mountains. And how many of you knew that or realized that? This is a really cool hunting tip. This is a great takeaway. So if nothing else, if you didn't learn anything else valuable in this video, at least take this cool hunting tip with you to help you be successful in your hunting endeavors to go shoot a black bear. Remember when scouting, when undergoing your scouting efforts to find and locate black bear whereabouts, to pursue and hunt the black bear using conventional hunting tactics, look on the aerial photos and look for all the clearings on the aerial photos in the mountains and hills in the forest, and go to each and every one of those and look for fresh bear scat, look for sign and evidence that black bear are feeding there, and look for evidence that the black bear produced that clearing by eating the sweet, sugary cambium layer behind the bark on the trees by stripping the bark and eating the cambium layer and killing the trees, causing the trees to fall over and create that clearing in the forest. And ultimately, too, as years progress, once the bear make this clearing, this opening in the mountains and forests, and the trees die, it opens up the forest floor to the sunlight. And what happens? Regeneration of growth. Regenerated trees, your grasses, sedges, saplings, ferns, all this broad-leaved herbaceous vegetation starts growing, and blackberries and raspberries start growing. And blueberries, raspberries, blackberries will start growing in that forest clearing that the bear produced by killing the trees from stripping the bark for the sweet sugary cambium layer. And ultimately a clearing made by black bears produces food for them year after year after year, and the bear know that, and they always hone in on those clearings to eat each and every spring, summer, fall, because in those clearings you can find food for the spring, food in the summer, and food in early fall. Because in the spring you'll have your skunk cabbage and your grasses and sedges, and you might find dead carcasses in there in those clearings that the bear can feed on. And then come summer, they'll have black cherries to eat, and blueberries, raspberries, blackberries to eat, and sedges, grasses, clovers, so forth, so on. And then into fall, they'll still have berries to eat in there. And there might even be a few oaks starting to grow, oak saplings, maybe a few acorn trees, oak trees and beechnut trees started growing on the outskirts or in that clearing. And maybe they've matured by now or are starting to produce nuts, drop nuts. So then ultimately the black bear will have not only skunk cabbage, grasses, sedges, clovers, so forth, so on, but they'll eventually have acorns, beech nuts, hazelnuts, black cherries to eat, and so forth and so on. So yeah, how cool is that? Well, a lot of people don't realize that black bears will strip bark on trees to get to that sweet sugary cambium layer behind the bark to eat. So that's a really cool, interesting fact about black bears that you could take away here. So when you're out there in the wilderness in black bear country, so that way when you're out there in black bear country in the wilderness scouting for black bears, you can look for these type of areas, these locations, to start your scouting efforts to locate black bear. And another really cool hunting tip here is if you can find still steaming fresh black bear scat anywhere in the forest, if you're standing there right at a fresh pile of bear shit, your hair should be standing up on the back of your neck. You want to immediately start looking around for that bear, for that bear, and two, what were they eating? Why is that bear shit there? Why are those bear tracks there? Why is that other pile of bear shit over there? What are they eating around here that's making them come to this spot? Maybe it's the black cherries. Maybe it's the acorns or beechnuts. Maybe it's the skunk cabbage or grasses, sedges, clovers. Maybe it's the raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, what have you. Maybe it's a dead carcass that's over there, a dead rotten elk, deer, moose carcass or something they're eating on. So if you find that fresh bear scat, fresh tracks, and you immediately spot food source, a hot food source they're eating, they're going to keep returning there daily until that food source is depleted. That black bear's going to return to eat every bit of whatever they're eating on in that location right there. And you want to sit your ass down. You want to get in there when the conditions are right, when the wind's right, when it's colder than average temps, the wind is right, and just the gut feeling is right, and you just know the conditions are right to get in there, slip in there, and stake out and watch that spot. You can bet that black bear will return, and you could very well harvest a black bear just putting boot leather on the ground, scouted the area, found fresh tracks, fresh bear scat, food that they're eating on currently. And you could very well kill a black bear using that hunting tactic, that method. If nothing else, if the rest of this video didn't do it for you, if you didn't care about any of the rest of it, at least take these couple really cool, interesting facts about black bear, these to help you be successful in the bear woods. so you can go shoot yourself a black bear. All right. So let me know in the comments, everybody, if I'd like to hear from all of you. I want to know if you're already a black bear hunter, or have you already shot a black bear? Are you planning a black bear hunt this fall? Are you an avid black bear hunter? Are you new to black bear hunting? Are you just on here watching this to learn what you can about black bears? Let me know in the comments if you've ever shot a black bear, if you currently hunt black bear. Let me know. And let me know what your thoughts and feelings are on baiting black bear. And let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I'll answer back. We can converse with one another back and forth through the comments. Please click the like button before you go. If you're not subscribed to my Spikes and Gills YouTube channel yet, can you please subscribe? Click the notification bell so you'll be notified of all the future uploads. The next series of videos on my Spikes and Gills YouTube channel will be all about black bear and black bear hunting.